Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Hurst, and I am the Democratic nominee for the 11th Congressional District seat. All right. I'm running against Tom Davis, a six-term Republican incumbent who was elected to the infamous 1994 Contract with America class. This group of self-styled reformers vowed to change the way Congress was elected and the manner in which it conducted itself. The Contract with America class did indeed change the way Congress conducted itself, for the worse. In every respect, this Republican majority has corroded the honor and the ethics of the most powerful legislative body on earth. It has come to the point that two of the most prominent former speakers of the House, Jim Wright, a Democrat, and Newt Gingrich, a Republican, have recently agreed that it's time for the people who are running the House now to leave office. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? These former enemies from the opposite sides of the aisle have agreed that the people who are running our country in Congress have to leave because of the way they are doing business. And in this Republican majority, Tom Davis has stood out for his efforts to undermine congressional credibility. He's been chairman of the House Government Reform Committee since January of 2003. His tenure in that committee has been marked by an utter failure to undertake any legitimate effort to reform government. And let me remind you, the name of the committee is the House Government Reform Committee. I'll give you a couple examples. Despite repeated calls to do so, Davis has refused utterly to investigate issues like homeland security contracting abuses, the influence of industry lobbyists over EP regulations and other agency actions, and Bush administration overreaching in areas like wiretapping and politicizing our federal agencies. These and other egregious abuses of our system have cost taxpayers like you and me billions of dollars, and undermined public faith in our governing institutions. Public cynicism regarding our federal government is at an all-time high, and that's not without justification, folks. That cynicism is deserved. As chairman of the Government Reform Committee, Tom Davis should have been a leader in changing the way the government does business. Instead, he's become a leader in abusing the system. Is it any wonder that Davis has done nothing to further campaign finance reform? Let's talk for a second about what Tom Davis does for campaign finances. He worked with Tom DeLay to make an art form of shaking down money from special interests. In this cycle alone, he's raised over $1 million from special interest PACs, while funding millions more into other races around this state. You want to know why Democrats aren't winning some races? Because Tom Davis is taking some money from other people outside the state and funneling it into our state. Enough is enough. Davis is a poster boy for a political system that has put raising money first and ideas and values last. Can we be surprised that Tom Davis co-sponsored the sham lobbying reform bill that came before Congress? Davis's cozy relationship with lobbyists is legendary, and I'm going to talk about that a lot more today. Of the 435 members of Congress, guess what rank Tom Davis had in taking direct lobbyist contributions? Anyone have a guess? 8. Number 8 of the whole country. You folks are at number 8 in the whole United States. Tom Davis took the 8th most amount of money from lobbyists this year. Is that something Virginians can be proud of? No. He even had lobbyists pay for his committee's Christmas party. The holiday party for the Government Reform Committee was paid for by lobbyists. It's a shame. It's a scandal. In Davis's own words, and I'm not making this up, my hand to God, this is true. Davis said this exact quote: "While other kids collected baseball cards, I collected the cards of lobbyists." That's your representative, indeed. I can go on and on, but the point of this: reforming government is of vital importance, and it should begin with the way members of Congress conduct themselves. And Tom Davis' conduct in this regard is a sham. When questioned about accepting oil company contributions after voting for one of the biggest oil giveaways in our nation's history, Davis claimed that he'd never taken a nickel of money from oil companies. And that's a quote. Never taken a nickel from oil companies.
He doesn't take small change.
That's right. That's right. A few folks had the temerity to look on the FEC reports and found he hadn't taken a nickel. He'd taken tens of thousands of dollars. He'd taken over $12,000 from ExxonMobil alone. Where do I go from that? This bizarre lie, this is a flat-out blatant lie to a newspaper. This lie casts credibility on everything this man does. Not only does he take the money, he lies about it after he does. But it got worse in the last couple of weeks. Tom Davis accepted a $13,000 free vacation to Europe this year. Anyone here like a $13,000 free vacation? Go to Europe? On a private jet? Wouldn't be bad, right? In fact, Davis was the area's biggest recipient. Count all our congressional representatives in the local area. He was the biggest recipient of privately funded congressional junkets. That's where somebody else pays for you to go for a trip. And these trips, these are a lot like the ones that were sponsored by Jack Abramoff. Remember those golf trips to Scotland where he was there posing with people and a thing? This is what Tom Davis does. Davis is the most eager recipient of this largesse. That's another thing we learned in the last couple of weeks. But finally on Friday, folks, we learned most of all about this latest scandal. The last thing, the straw for me that has broken the camel's back. Just last week, the Washington Post uncovered signs of far-reaching influence-peddling schemes by Davis and his wife that are newsworthy even in Tom DeLay's Congress. And I'm just going to read this because it's kind of shocking. I don't want to get it wrong. I know there's probably some investigations that are going to come from this, so we have to tread carefully here. But some of the revelations that the Washington Post uncovered are that a government consulting firm, ICG Government, and its office is right here, that's why we're here today, was given unique access to Tom Davis, his staff, and to the House Government Reform Committee in exchange for campaign contributions from ICG and its clients. But Davis's wife, Jean Marie Devilides Davis, is paid more than $6,000 a month for a sham part-time job with ICG Government.
I want that job.
Yeah, we all do. That's right. That's right. Not a bad gig. And it included contact with people on federal matters, advice on how to get contracts from the government. And number 3, lobbyists from ICG client Artel Incorporated drafted a letter to the Pentagon threatening contracting officers with repercussions if they did not re-examination the termination of a contract. And that letter was taken by Tom Davis' staff, put on Tom Davis letterhead, signed by Tom Davis, and sent over there. Is that what you want from your congressional representative? Is that what you want? I mean, keep in mind, this is a government reform committee chair. He is supposed to be the one who looks into these problems. If someone else had done this in Congress, I'd expect Tom Davis to be issuing subpoenas that day. Instead, he's the one doing it. Enough is enough. These latest revelations have shocked the conscience of everyone who lives here. I can't tell you how many people have come up to me in the last week after Friday, just appalled. They say, what's going on down there? I can't believe it. I've heard all this stuff about reform you've been talking about, Andy, but I can't believe this goes on. Shouldn't Americans receive more from the chair of that committee? My fellow residents here in the 11th District should be confident that the chairman is not beholden to special interests who will fund his campaign, that he'll be truthful and forthright when he's asked about funding of his campaigns. Americans should know that this chairman does not accept gifts from lobbyists and other attempts to change his mind on crucial legislation. We pay our members of Congress well, more than 16 times what someone on minimum wage makes. 16 times more. Is it too much to ask they pay for their own vacation? Can't these guys, you want to go on a break, go on your own, but don't make other people pay for it and then shake them down. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, should access to the chairman in this committee on government reform be for sale? Because that's what this boils down to today, folks. I could talk for a long time. You know, that's what this is about. Access to some of the most important things in our government is directly for sale right now. And that's wrong. We all know it's wrong. That's why we're standing here. Why can't ideas and solutions be the way to get access to a member of our Congress? Not bogus jobs for congressional spouses or campaign contributions given in return for panel positions and access to the chairman. Enough is enough. I'm here today, folks, to tell you and to tell everyone who will listen that I'm calling on Tom Davis, the chair of the House Government Reform Committee, to resign from his position as chair. I don't know where these allegations will go. I know there's a lot more behind this. This is the tip of the iceberg on peddling influence that Tom Davis has done for years, and he will be called to account on for now. I don't know whether there'll be criminal investigations. I don't know if there'll be congressional investigations. These have not been investigated at all. Any smokescreens you've heard about letters from the Ethics Committee are just hypothetical letters that were sent in response to inquiries by Davis, but they're not on the facts. When these are investigated, I think there'll be a lot more happening, and we have to tread cautiously we don't get in the way of the criminal system. But I will say this. Tom Davis has proven at long last that he's the problem and not the solution to the government reform issues we have today, and that's why I'm running, to change those exact issues. So thanks so much for coming out today, guys. I appreciate it. And let's take this all in Washington and change some things.